In this video, we're doing a deep dive into TFSA contribution room, what it is, how it works, how it can grow, and if you're not careful, how it might shrink and cost you money. Let's do it. Hello everybody, my name is Max. I've filmed this intro 3 times because I keep forgetting to press record on my microphone. I am an accredited financial counselor operating out of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Did that actually record? Yes! We're making progress. This is a second video in a series all about the TFSA. If you haven't watched the first video, I highly recommend go and check that out first. I'll put a link in the description and maybe there's a link on the screen right now. I don't know. If you've already checked out that video and you're here for round 2, hey, thanks. Just a recap from our last vid, tax-free savings accounts allow us to earn income tax-free. They are the most powerful when they're utilized over the long term, and you're not restricted to using them just as a simple savings account. You can earn a lot more money in the long term by holding higher earning investments.
Well, this is great. I am going to put all of my money in a TFSA and just withdraw it whenever I need it.
Not so fast, hotshot. The government is one step ahead of you. They know this is a sweet deal. So sweet that they put a yearly limit on the amount of money that Canadians can contribute to a TFSA. Let's do a real brief history lesson. When the TFSA concept was introduced way back in 2009, the limit was $5,000. It's since been indexed to inflation and now sits at $6,000 per year. Also, there was this weird moment in 2015 when the outgoing government raised the limit to $10,000 for some, I'm sure, nefarious reason. The next year, it was back to quote-unquote normal levels. What's cool is that if you don't contribute the full amount every year, and most Canadians don't, the unused contribution room gets carried over to future years. So, if you're not in a position right now to contribute to a TFSA, that contribution room will be sitting there waiting for you whenever you're ready. Like a loyal pet. Like that dog, the Japanese dog, who sat outside the train station. What is the name of that dog? Japanese dog, train station? Hachiko. Now, not everybody has the same contribution room. It begins to accumulate on either the day you turn 18 or the day you get a Canadian social insurance number. If you've been a fully functioning adult or Canadian citizen at least since 2009, you'll have 12 years worth of contribution room. If you turned 18 in, let's say, 2014, you'll have 7 years of contribution room. If you came to Canada in 2012, you'll have 11 years of contribution room. All right, let's illustrate this with some wrestler-based examples. If you were as old as, say, Rick the Model Martel, 64 years old, and you've never used any contribution room, you'd be sitting on $69,500. If you were as old as Rick the Model and randomly contributed $1,000 in 2009, maybe you got swept up in TFSA hype, you would now be sitting on $68,500 of room. If you were as old as Rick and you've contributed $100 a month since 2009, you're sitting on $57,500 of contribution room coming into 2020. I hope you are excited to learn more about TFSA contribution rooms because we're not done yet. Are you ready for this? Because this is important. I really want you to focus, lock in. If you make a withdrawal from your TFSA, doesn't matter which one, maybe you have a plethora of TFSAs. You make a withdrawal from a TFSA, the amount that you have withdrawn gets added back to your contribution room on January 1st of the following year. That should blow your fucking mind.
Example.
Okay, this can get a little complex, so we're gonna move through this very slowly in an effort to maximize clarity and understanding. We're gonna look at several examples of TFSAs over a 3-year period. Our first example, very, very simple. In year 1, we have $0 in our TFSA. The government grants us $6,000 in contribution room. We're not in a position to contribute, so we end the year with the full $6,000 of room that we carry over to the next year. In year 2, we start with nothing in our TFSA. We're granted the next regular contribution room increase. Again, still not in a position to contribute, so we end the year with $12,000 of unused contribution room. Year 3, the same thing. We end the final year with $18,000 of unused contribution room. Next example. This time, things are very similar, except that in year 1, we contribute the maximum amount. So we end the year with $6,000 in our TFSA. In year 2, we start with $6,000. We get the regular limit increase from the government, and again, we contribute the full amount. So now we have $12,000 total in our TFSA. Year 3, we start with $12,000. We get the $6,000 increase, but for illustrative purposes, we don't contribute anything, and so we end the year with $12,000 in our TFSA and $6,000 in unused contribution room, which we will carry over to year 4. Are you with me so far? Great. Let's go to the next step. Here, year 1 starts off the same. We start with nothing, we receive the increase, and we contribute the full amount. Then, going into year 2, we have $6,000 in our TFSA. We get the next regular increase, and we contribute the max. But then something happens, and we withdraw $2,000. Maybe we go on vacation. Maybe we buy an electric bike. At the end of the year, we have $10,000 in our TFSA. The next year, we start with the 10 grand, we get the regular increase, and the government grants us an additional $2,000 in contribution room to make up for the $2,000 we withdrew the year prior. We don't contribute anything in year 3, so we end the year with $10,000 total in our TFSA and $8,000 of unused contribution room. Notice how all 3 of our examples so far have reflected that $18,000 of total contribution room that the government has granted us. Here is where the mind begins to get blown out of the skull. Let's get complicated. In this example, things start off very familiar. We have $0 in our TFSA. We get the $6,000 contribution limit increase. We contribute the full amount, but this time we invest the money. We get very lucky, and by the end of the year, the amount of money in our TFSA has grown by $2,000. At the end of the year, we have $8,000 in our TFSA. Notice that the contribution limit was $6,000, but thanks to investing, we have been able to grow our TFSA beyond the contribution limit. The next year, we start with $8,000 in our TFSA. We get the additional $6,000 of contribution room like clockwork. We contribute the max, but then something happens. The pipes explode in our apartment, and we have to withdraw the entire thing for repairs. We end the year with $0 in our TFSA. The next year, we start with nada. We get the regular $6,000 increase, but we also get an increase of $14,000 to reflect the withdrawal from the year prior. We contribute nothing, and at the end of the year, we have a contribution limit of $20,000. The size of your contribution room swells to accommodate the amount of money within it.
Mind blown.
But it's a two-way street, because the opposite can also happen. Your contribution room can also shrink. In our final example, the only thing we'll change is what happens to our investment in year 1. Instead of gaining $2,000, we have some bad luck, we make some poor choices, and the money has dropped to $2,000. Coming into year 2, we have a total of $4,000 in our TFSA. We get the same limit increase as always, we contribute the max for the year, and then the pipes explode. We withdraw the full amount. Just like in the previous example, we start year 3 with $0. We get the additional $6,000 of contribution room. We get an additional $10,000 of room to accommodate the withdrawal from the year prior, but we're not in a position to contribute, so we end the year with $16,000 in total contribution room. Add all of this inflating and deflating of contribution room to the fact that you can have multiple TFSA accounts across multiple different institutions that house multiple different sorts of investments, and it can become kind of tricky to keep track of how much contribution room you actually have. Thankfully, the CRA is keeping close track for you. If you haven't created a CRA online account yet, man, I recommend that you do. Not only can you track your TFSA and RRSP contribution limits, and you can do fun stuff like look for checks that the government sent you but you never cashed because you were/are an irresponsible jabron.
Jabroni!
Okay, that's today's video. Let's summarize. Everyone has a certain amount of dollars that they can house within TFSAs. That number goes up every year by a specific amount set by the government. You can actually manipulate your contribution room for better or for worse, depending on the performance of your investments and when you choose to withdraw the funds. Track your contribution room via your CRA online account so that you don't accidentally over-contribute and end up penalized. Also, don't try to pull a fast one on the CRA. They will find out, and they will bring the hammer down. Graphics are fun. Graphics are fun. So if I've gotten around to making a third TFSA video by now, the link will be on the screen and also in the description. If I haven't, keep a close eye on this channel because it will be coming up shortly. If you have found this video to be valuable, click like. It doesn't just help the channel, it also communicates to YouTube that other people need to see the content that we're talking about here today. And we know that is true. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram, the link of which I'm assuming is somewhere on this page right now, probably in the description, maybe somewhere else, who knows. And if you are in need of one-on-one help, I encourage you to check out maxmitchellmoney.com. Check out my rates. I am absurdly affordable. It's a problem. I need to increase my rates. I will one day, soon, because I know I have to do it. I have to do it. So jump on it right now while I'm still don't understand business. That's it for me. Thanks so much, and talk to you guys soon. Bye.